The ear-splitting alarm blared through the intergalactic school halls, echoing off the polished metallic walls as Zexon clutched his abdomen and collapsed to the floor. His blue skin paled to a sickly lavender, and his 4 eyes widened with panic. 3 of his classmates, all different species from across the galaxy, rushed to his side as their xenobiology professor called for emergency medical assistance. "He's experiencing a critical failure," shouted Mipa, her tentacles waving frantically. "His central processing unit must be malfunctioning." Professor Vraxil pushed through the small crowd of alien students gathering around the fallen Zexon. The professor's crystalline body shimmered with concern as he conducted a quick assessment. "Get him to the medical bay immediately," Professor Vraxil ordered. "This looks like the same condition that affected 2 other students last week." As the medical drones lifted Zexon onto a hovering stretcher, Oliver Weathers watched from the back of the classroom, his brow furrowed. He was the only human in the advanced xenobiology program at the Galactic Academic Exchange, and he'd noticed something peculiar about these mysterious failures his classmates were experiencing. The class was dismissed early, and Oliver made his way to the medical wing. Being the sole human representative in the first ever exchange program with Earth, he felt a responsibility to help if he could. The program was only 6 months old, and integration had been challenging for everyone involved. The medical bay doors slid open as Oliver approached. Inside, the chief medical officer, Dr. Cladu, was examining Zexon with a series of scanning devices while 2 other students, Plorn and Garrix, lay on nearby beds, looking equally distressed. "Another one," Dr. Cladu said, his single eye blinking rapidly. "This is becoming an epidemic." 3 students in 10 days. Oliver cleared his throat. "Excuse me, Dr. Cladu, I think I might know what's happening to them." The doctor turned, surprised to see the human student. "Oliver Weathers, this is a restricted area during examination procedures." "I understand, but I've been observing the pattern. The symptoms, the timing, it matches something humans experience regularly." Dr. Cladu's eye narrowed. "Explain." "I think they're hungry," Oliver said simply. The medical bay fell silent. "Doctor." Cladu's assistants stopped their work and stared at Oliver. "Hungry." Dr. Cladu repeated the unfamiliar word. "What is this hungry?" Oliver realized that the concept might not translate well. "It's a signal our bodies give us when we need to consume energy food. When humans need to eat, our bodies send pain signals to our midsection, our stomachs growl, and we can feel weak or dizzy. It's completely normal." Dr. Cladu looked skeptical. "You're suggesting this is not a critical failure but some kind of energy notification system?" "Exactly," Oliver nodded. "I noticed that all 3 of them missed the nutrition dispensary times because of extended lab sessions. None of them has refueled in nearly 20 hours. Dr. Cladu turned to his assistants. "Bring nutritional supplements suitable for each species immediately." As the supplements were administered, Oliver watched with growing confidence. Within minutes, color returned to Zexon's face. Plorn's spines, which had been drooping, began to straighten, and Garrix's breathing normalized. "Incredible," Dr. Cladu murmured. "Such an inefficient system to cause pain and distress as a notification method." "It's not ideal," Oliver admitted, "but it's effective. Humans have evolved this way over millions of years." Zexon sat up slowly, looking confused. "What happened to me?" "The last thing I remember was working on my quantum biology assignment, then this terrible pain." "You were experiencing something humans call hunger," Dr. Cladu explained. "Apparently, it's a natural energy notification system, not a critical failure as we thought." Zexon's 4 eyes blinked in succession as he processed this information. "You mean humans regularly experience this pain as normal function?" Oliver nodded. "Every day, multiple times. That's why we have scheduled meal times." "Fascinating and horrifying," Zexon said, still clutching his abdomen despite the pain having subsided. "How do humans endure such a flawed design?" "We're used to it," Oliver shrugged. "Actually, we have lots of these biological signals. Thirst when we need water, fatigue when we need rest, pain when we're injured." Dr. Cladu was already documenting this discovery in the medical database. This could explain similar episodes we've had with other biological species in the exchange program. We need to conduct a full comparative study immediately. The news spread quickly throughout the school. By the next day, Oliver found himself surrounded by curious alien students during lunch period. The cafeteria, or nutrition dispensary, as it was called, buzzed with questions directed at him. "Is it true that your species experiences regular internal alarms?" asked Thraxus, a silicon-based life form with shimmering scales. "Do you have to manually refuel several times daily?" inquired Nema, whose gaseous form was contained in a specialized environment suit. Oliver tried to answer all their questions while eating his specially prepared Earth food. "Yes, humans typically eat 3 times a day, sometimes with smaller snacks in between. If we don't, we get increasingly uncomfortable signals, hunger pains that get worse over time." "What happens if you ignore these signals?" Mipa asked, her tentacles curled with concern. "Eventually, after days without food, our bodies begin consuming themselves for energy. It becomes debilitating and eventually fatal." The aliens exchanged shocked glances. For most of them, energy consumption was a far more efficient process. Some absorbed cosmic radiation. Others performed photosynthesis, and some required refueling only once every few Earth weeks. Professor Vraxil approached the table, his crystalline form catching the light. "Oliver Weathers, the faculty is quite intrigued by your discovery. We would like to propose a research project studying these biological signals in humans and comparing them to other species." Oliver felt a surge of excitement. This could be his opportunity to make a real contribution to intergalactic science. "I'd be honored, Professor." "Excellent. We'll begin tomorrow. The Galactic Science Committee has already approved emergency funding for this study." That evening, as Oliver prepared for bed in his adapted living quarters, he received a message from Earth. It was from his sister, who was working as a xenobiologist on the Mars colony. "Hey, Ollie," the holographic message began, his sister's face floating before him. "I heard about your hunger revelation at the GAE. Word travels fast when it's the first major breakthrough in human-alien medical understanding. Mom and Dad are super proud. Keep representing Earth well, little brother." Oliver smiled, feeling a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced since arriving at the academy. What had begun as an embarrassing human biological quirk was now being recognized as valuable scientific knowledge. The next morning, Oliver reported to the newly established Human Biological Signals Research Lab. Professor Vraxil and Dr. Claudiu had assembled a team of the Academy's top xenobiology students, including Zexon, who had fully recovered from his hunger crisis. "We've created a comprehensive research plan," Professor Vraxil explained, displaying a holographic outline. "Phase 1 will document all biological signals humans experience. Phase 2 will test similar responses in compatible alien physiologies. Phase 3 will develop a universal biological signal translation matrix. This could revolutionize intergalactic medicine," Dr. Claudiu added. "No more misdiagnoses of normal biological functions as critical failures." The research began with Oliver cataloging every biological signal he could think of: hunger, thirst, fatigue, pain, temperature sensitivity, and more. Each signal was recorded, measured, and analyzed by the alien team, who found the whole process both primitive and fascinating. "Your species uses discomfort as its primary motivation for nearly everything," Zexon observed as he analyzed Oliver's brain scans during a controlled hunger test. "It seems unnecessarily cruel." "I never thought about it that way," Oliver admitted, "but I guess it works." "The signals are hard to ignore, which ensures we address our needs promptly." As days turned into weeks, the research expanded. Other exchange students from Earth were invited to participate, providing a broader sample of human responses. The team discovered surprising similarities between human biological signals and those of several other species that had previously been misinterpreted. One morning, about a month into the project, Oliver entered the lab to find an unusual setup. Several food items from Earth were arranged on a table alongside monitoring equipment. "What's all this?" he asked. Professor Vraxel's crystalline form shimmered with excitement. "Today, we're testing something called cravings." Several Earth students mentioned this phenomenon-specific hunger for particular nutrients or tastes. "We find it fascinating that your bodies can signal not just for energy, but for specific types of energy." Oliver laughed. "You've basically set up a buffet of junk food to see what I'll choose when I'm hungry." "Precisely," Dr. Cladu confirmed. "Your choice will be analyzed for psychological and physiological factors." The experiment proceeded, with Oliver fasting for several hours before being presented with the food choices. The alien researchers were captivated by how his body seemed to know what it needed, gravitating toward protein-rich foods after his workout and carbohydrates when mentally fatigued. "The human body is like a primitive but effective computer," Mipa commented, her tentacles taking notes rapidly. "It runs diagnostics and sends error messages in the form of discomfort." "That's one way to look at it," Oliver agreed, biting into an apple. As the research progressed, something unexpected happened. The alien students began to develop a deeper understanding and appreciation for biological life forms. Many had come from synthetic or energy-based civilizations where physical needs were minimal or highly regulated. The concept of listening to one's body was foreign but increasingly intriguing to them. Zexon, in particular, became fascinated with the research. "I've been monitoring my own energy levels more carefully," he told Oliver during a break. "I've noticed subtle signals before the pain begins: a slight decrease in cognitive function, a minor shift in color. I believe I can detect my own version of hunger now before it becomes distressing." "That's great," Oliver said. "Early detection is key for humans too. We call those hunger pangs, the early warning system before real hunger sets in." The research took an unexpected turn when Garrix, one of the students who had initially collapsed from hunger, approached the team with a concerned expression. "I've been experiencing something unusual," he said. "A repetitive contraction in my abdominal cavity, accompanied by a rumbling sound." Dr. Cladu scanned him immediately. "Your energy levels are slightly decreased, but not critically." Oliver laughed. "That sounds like a stomach growl. It's one of the first signs of hunger in humans." "Our stomachs contract when empty, creating that sound." Garrix looked alarmed. "You mean I'm adapting human hunger signals? How is that possible?" Professor Vraxel's crystalline structure pulsed with interest. "Remarkable. We should expand our research to include potential biological adaptations in prolonged cross-species exposure." This new direction proved even more groundbreaking. The team discovered that several alien species with similar enough biological structures were beginning to develop human-like hunger signals after extended exposure to humans and human eating patterns. It wasn't genetic, but behavioral and neurological, their bodies learning new ways to communicate needs based on observation. "It's like their bodies are learning a new language," Oliver explained during a presentation to the Galactic Science Committee. "Just as humans might pick up alien languages or customs, it seems some alien physiologies can adopt human biological communication methods." The committee was impressed, and funding for the project doubled. The research expanded to include other biological signals beyond hunger, and the team began developing a universal biological signal translator, a device that could interpret physical symptoms across species and provide accurate diagnoses. 6 months into the project, Oliver received an urgent message from his sister on Mars. A mysterious illness was affecting the human colonists with symptoms that didn't match any known human disease. The colony's medical team was struggling to diagnose it. Could it be an alien adaptation issue? Oliver suggested during an emergency video conference. "Like what we're seeing here, but in reverse, humans adapting to Martian conditions in unexpected ways." The colony's chief medical officer looked thoughtful. "It's possible. The symptoms are unusual increased appetite but weight loss, heightened sensitivity to temperature, periodic disorientation." Oliver turned to Dr. Cladu and Professor Vraxel, who had been listening to the conversation. "Could we apply our research to help them?" The biological signal translator is still in prototype stage, Dr. Cladu said, but we could send the current version to Mars for testing. It might help identify if these symptoms are adaptations rather than illness. The prototype was rushed to Mars, and within weeks, they had their answer. The human colonists weren't sick. They were adapting to Mars' lower gravity and different radiation levels. Their bodies were sending signals that had been misinterpreted because they didn't match Earth normal parameters. Oliver's work had saved the Mars colony from a potential evacuation and firmly established the importance of cross-species medical understanding. When he returned to the cafeteria after the Mars crisis was resolved, he found something surprising: the alien students had implemented scheduled meal times for all species, recognizing that regular energy intake was beneficial even for those who didn't experience hunger the way humans did. "We've learned something important from your inefficient biological signals," Zexon told him. "Regular maintenance prevents system failures, even if our bodies don't demand it with pain." As the academic year progressed, the research team made breakthroughs after breakthrough. They discovered that many alien illnesses were actually misinterpreted biological signals, and many human allergic reactions to alien environments were adaptations being formed. The universal biological signal translator became increasingly sophisticated, able to diagnose across dozens of species. Oliver found himself becoming something of a celebrity at the academy. Students from all species sought his insight about their own biological functions, wondering if what they had always considered normal might actually be inefficient or misunderstood. One evening, as Oliver was working late in the lab, Professor Vraxel approached him. "The Galactic Academic Board has reviewed our research, Oliver Weathers. They are extremely impressed with the advancements we've made in cross-species understanding." "That's great news, Professor," Oliver said, looking up from his data analysis. "Indeed. They've proposed establishing a permanent human biological research center here at the Academy, with you as the lead human consultant upon your graduation." Oliver was stunned. "Me? But I'm just a student. I haven't even completed my degree yet." "You have demonstrated exceptional insight and cross-species communication skills. Your ability to explain human biological functions in terms other species can understand has been invaluable." The offer was tempting, but Oliver had always planned to return to Earth after completing the exchange program. "Can I have some time to think about it?" Of course, the position would not begin until after your graduation. That night, Oliver couldn't sleep. The opportunity was incredible, but accepting it would mean staying away from Earth for years. As he tossed and turned, his stomach growled loudly, a familiar human signal that he'd been too preoccupied to notice. He laughed to himself as he got up to get a snack from his food synthesizer. Even now, his body was communicating with him in its primitive but effective way. The growl reminded him of how this whole journey had started with the simple revelation that what aliens saw as a critical failure was just a normal human energy signal. As he ate, he received a surprise call from Earth, his parents. "Ollie," his mother exclaimed when her holographic image appeared. "We've just heard the news about the job offer. We're so proud of you." "News travels fast," Oliver said, surprised. "I haven't made a decision yet." His father appeared in the hologram. "Son, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. You'd be the human representative to the galaxy, helping bridge understanding between species." "But it means staying away from Earth for years," Oliver pointed out. His mother smiled gently. "Honey, you've always wanted to make a difference. And with the new interstellar transport systems, we could visit you twice a year. It's not like the old days of space travel." Their support meant everything to him, but he still needed time to think. The next day, he sought out Zexon, who had become one of his closest friends at the academy. "If I accept this position," Oliver asked, "do you think I'll ever feel at home here, or will I always be the odd human out?" Zexon considered this, his 4 eyes blinking thoughtfully. "When you first arrived, we saw you as a curiosity, a fragile creature with bizarre biological processes. Now, we see you as Oliver Weathers, the student who taught us that different doesn't mean deficient." That's surprisingly philosophical coming from you, Oliver teased. Perhaps I've been spending too much time with humans, Zexon retorted. But consider this: your hunger revelation didn't just help us understand humans better, it helped us understand ourselves. Before you explained hunger, I thought my body was malfunctioning. Now I recognize it as communication. That perspective stuck with Oliver as he continued his daily routine at the academy. He began noticing how much had changed since his arrival. The cafeteria now had clear schedules posted for different species' optimal nutrition times. The medical bay had a new triage system that distinguished between critical failures and biological signals. Even the classroom schedules had been adjusted to account for different species' energy cycles. A week later, Oliver made his decision. He went to Professor Vraxel's office and knocked on the transparent door. "Enter," came the crystalline voice from within. Oliver stepped into the office, where Professor Vraxel was reviewing holographic data. "Professor, I've made my decision about the research position." The professor's crystalline structure brightened with attention. "And I accept, with one condition. I want to expand the research to include a two-way exchange of biological understanding. Not just teaching aliens about human signals, but helping humans understand and potentially adopt more efficient alien biological processes." Professor Vraxel's structure pulsed with what Oliver had come to recognize as enthusiasm. "An excellent suggestion. The board will certainly approve." "Your perspective continues to prove valuable," Oliver Weathers. In the following weeks, Oliver worked with the research team to develop a comprehensive plan for the new Human Biological Research Center. They would study everything from hunger and thirst to pain tolerance, emotional responses, and healing mechanisms across species. The day before the end of the academic year, the team gathered for a celebration in the lab. Dr. Cladu had prepared a special announcement. "Thanks to our research, the Galactic Medical Association has officially reclassified hunger and similar biological signals from critical failures to standard communication mechanisms in their diagnostic guidelines. This will prevent misdiagnoses across all member worlds." The room erupted in cheers and various alien expressions of approval. For Oliver, it was the perfect culmination of their work, a tangible change that would help countless beings across the galaxy. Mipa approached him, her tentacles arranged in a pattern Oliver had learned to recognize as respect. "When you first explained hunger to us, I thought humans were defective. Now I understand that different evolutionary paths lead to different solutions. There is no perfect design, only what works for each species." "That's the most important lesson," Oliver agreed. "Understanding our differences without judgment." As the celebration continued, Oliver found a quiet moment to reflect on his journey. What had begun with a simple explanation of hunger had evolved into a profound exchange of biological knowledge across species. He had come to the academy to learn about alien life, but had ended up teaching just as much as he learned. His stomach growled, and instead of feeling embarrassed as he once might have, he smiled. His body was communicating with him in its ancient, imperfect, but ultimately effective way. And now, thanks to their research, when an alien student heard that sound or experienced their own version of hunger, they wouldn't panic. They would understand it as just another way that living beings, human or alien, stay in tune with their needs. The next morning, as Oliver packed for the short break before returning to start his new position, he received one final message from the research team. They had compiled all their findings into the first edition of the Intergalactic Guide to Biological Signals, with his name listed as lead human contributor. The dedication page read, "To the hunger that brought us together and the understanding that keeps us connected across the stars." Oliver closed his suitcase, ready for whatever came next. He had come to the Galactic Academic Exchange as an outsider, a human with strange biological signals that seemed like critical failures to his alien peers. He was leaving as a pioneer in cross-species understanding, having helped transform a perceived weakness into a valuable insight about the diverse ways life communicated with itself across the universe. And as his stomach rumbled again, reminding him it was time for breakfast, He welcomed the signal with a newfound appreciation not just for what it told him about his body's needs, but for how it had opened a door to greater understanding between worlds. What had once been seen as a human flaw had become a catalyst for one of the most significant breakthroughs in intergalactic medicine. All because he had taken the time to explain that most basic of human signals. Hunger, the body's simple way of saying it was time to refuel.